Not to mention, like, for all we know, the aliens probably were just like, hey, fool, like, do not, like, we'll help you, but do not tell anybody you're here. Like, we don't want,
chill out.
Yeah, but like we're the second you say anything, we're out, because you people are fucking crazy. Like, I've already said it. Like, yeah, it is true. Like, they probably do lock their doors when they drive by our planet and shit. Like, we are the hood and shit. You know, this is the body down here and shit. Like. Welcome, Nerd Chatter, a podcast where we discuss stories from the last couple of weeks in the film, gaming, and tech industries. A couple of boys, Lucas and Kenny today. What up?
What up?
Hey, how's it going?
On this week's show, talk about some aliens and shit. Some other smaller stories. There's some interesting stuff this week, actually. But before we get into that, we can do the usual. Hit us with that like and subscribe. Be much appreciated. Did you guys see this whole alien? We're talking about the congressional, what was it, like the congressional hearing of UAPs or something like that.
Yeah, do you want to cue up the Blink-182 music?
Tom DeLonge and shit? Yeah, he's the forefront. What's his, like, company? I forgot what they called.
To the Stars?
Yeah, like, because there was a couple UFO channels that I frequented. You know, I like that type of shit. You know, it's always interesting to see how, like, fake some shit is, and I actually get more of a kick of seeing people take obviously fake shit at, like, face value and, like, really run with it. Like, that's where I get my enjoyment out of it. But there has been some footage and some shit that's happened in the past that has been like, that's kind of fucking weird. Like, I don't know, like, the scientific explanation as to why that happened doesn't really make sense to me and shit. But so what we're talking about, we had 3 former military officials sat down with Congress and discussed UFOs and UAPs, which is the new terminology these hip cats are using these days. What are they? Unidentified aerial phenomenon, right?
Phenomenon, yeah.
Okay. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it from like a social engineering aspect, it did kind of like, you know, because I think there has been like a negative, you know, kind of connotation with UFO, you know, that terminology, because it's just almost goofy and sci-fi, you know. But UAP sounds more of like a, you know,
sounds more professional, you know.
Yeah, it's more of a military term.
Yeah,
sounding,
UFO is
you know?
like ET. And,
Yeah.
It's the LinkedIn version of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, UFO, the terminology is very clearly, you know, they don't know what the fuck it is, and it's fine. The same thing with USOs. It's, you know, unidentified submerged objects, which is actually far more interesting to me, to be honest. That shit is scary. Like, when you see footage of like USOs and things like coming out of the water or going in and coming out of the water like fluidly, like nothing, like it's insane. Some of the footage that they declassified, what was it, like last year or whatever? I think Tom DeLonge actually had something to do with one of them or all of them. But
I mean, of everything, like recently, he's had a lot to do with.
It's super weird, and like it was probably
that's
money.
the reason why he left Blink.
I mean, it's probably because he's fucking crazy. Like, he's into that crazy shit. But like,
did you ever watch the Joe Rogan episode with him?
I watched a little bit. Yeah, I also watched some shit before that. Like, cause like I was saying, I watched those UFO like YouTube channels, and like they really didn't like that fool like popping up. They thought they were like, you know, some big hotshot like musician who's just gonna come in and you know, this is their genre, this is their talking points and shit like that. So they're kind of like butthurt that he was kind of taking their you know, their gumption and shit. But I guess, you know, the shit that he's released, eventually the government was just like, yeah, that's real. Like, that's it's like, we don't know what that is, and the way that shit's acting is crazy, and I think we can all agree that that's fucking weird, and then we don't know what it is. So what are we gonna do, you know? And the one that I'm talking about, I actually seen a little clip here because I have the ABC News article up, but there was one very distinctly where it's like traveling really fast, low to the ground, and then it kind of like dives into the water and then comes back up and then just dives again, and it looks like there's zero, you know, friction when it breaks the surface of the water, and you can see it, you know. This thing's like on heat sensor or whatever, heat camera or whatever, and you can actually see it go and come up, and you know, There's other ones where out in the distance, large objects kind of just slowly like falling into the water, you know, kind of just like slowly floating down into it. And it's like, dude,
Yeah, if you were like a pilot and you're out there just chilling by yourself doing a little test flight and you see this happening, like, what's your thoughts?
I mean, probably
Like, what
not
the-
say let's not say anything. You know what I mean? Like, you'd probably be concerned for your
Yeah.
life and shit. You know what I mean?
So like this was one of
Exactly.
the talking points from I think Congress while they were talking to the three guys, and they were like, if you're out on a mission on a flight and you're doing your thing, I'd probably keep this to myself
Yeah.
and not sound crazy. But I'm like, dude, it's
But
either
now they have like cameras and shit on there.
right.
on
So I
the
mean, it's capturing all this
planes.
stuff.
Yeah.
There was one a couple weeks ago, or that I saw a couple weeks ago, where it buzzes the jet like super close, and you see this disc, right, and it has that classic UFO like shape, you know, the saucer with the bulge, the bulge.
The bulge.
Yeah.
And this thing rotates, like you see it, it's coming it really fast and passes this plane, but you know the camera is high enough frame rate where you could slow it down, you could see this thing, and it's like rotating, you know, like almost like it veered towards the plane and kind of like turned to like look at it while it zipped by and shit. And you know, these guys are talking about particular types of technology, you know, that and then ironically enough, in the last week we had a really low-key discovery about like a new type of like superconductor that could allow us to eventually defy like gravity and stuff and like ride the waves. You know, the whole there's that whole I'm not going to get into it, but it's like the whole technology on how UFOs work and how they kind of just ride magnetic waves and you know, that type of shit, where it's like all we need to do is find out how to manipulate that. And the technology, ironically enough, took like a huge leap that same like week. All this shit started talking about. So very interesting. But
Random.
they're talking about how the government has for decades had like a retrieval and backwards.
I mean,
I was gonna say
what is that
backwards
called?
compatibility and shit. When I play those old school games and shit, back reverse engineering and shit.
There you go.
There
That's
you
the
go.
word.
Yeah.
They've been doing this for me. So I mean, it basically falls right back into like, you know, Roswell, where it's like, okay, so they found a crash shit, they took it, they did some like cover up, and they've just been working on it, trying to figure out how the fucking thing works. And that's where we got computer chips and all these other technologies and things in the last like 60, 70 years or whatever. They've all just been discovering new ways of utilizing this technology and shit. And then they also said that they have, what did they say? They had possession of non-human biologics.
Right. So the
Yeah.
guy that was asked, I think what was it? I forgot his name.
Grush or whatever.
Yeah, Grush.
Yeah.
He was asked, by the girl, like, do you have any, evidence of the pilots that piloted these aircrafts? And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, I would talk to you after and like pretty much like off the record and let you know
or
what's
it
going
can-
on.
yeah.
He's like, but you guys do have, the evidence of some type of form of biologics that was found during the crash. So
Some
it's
type
like,
of body or leftover,
Yeah,
you know, where
you
they
know,
can
some
Limb.
like jizz stain or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
as an empty ones, they just he jettisoned and shit. Popped a couple nuts and he dipped and shit.
And then he dipped. Yeah, I was like, I gotta go.
So I mean, this goes. I mean, remember back in the '90s where they had the like the on like Fox or whatever, where the old school Fox, the less shitty Fox, but where they had like alien autopsies and shit like that, and people were speculating as to whether or not it was real or fake and all that shit. And I don't know. You look back at it now, like kind of looks like a fucking dummy, and shit, you know, like kind of looks
Yeah.
like something anybody could make if they had enough like talent. You know what I mean? Like Instagram scrolling, you know, makeup artists and shit make shit like this for weekend hobbies and shit. You know. So it could have been fake. Obviously, I doubt they're just gonna primetime TV that shit if they did have like footage. But yeah, he's saying, you know, yeah, they crashed. We got the machines. We got the bodies that were left behind, and you know, he didn't go into. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't go into detail as to whether or not we have like humans or aliens just like trotting around and like
That'd be dope.
working at because
That'd be
that's the
dope.
whole. You get into the Area 51 and all that shit, and like, you know, that's the whole thing. It's like you go deep enough and supposedly, you know, that's where they have the recovered aliens or the aliens that have like worked with governments and they kind of like do their human slash alien experiments and all that shit down there, whatever. The goofy shit. All I know is that raid Area 51 is like my greatest moment. I love that whole thing of the last like decade. It's like my favorite thing that happened on the internet and shit. I loved it. But I think it's a little far fetched. And I mean, to be honest, like, you know, there's always been reports of like, you know, Area 51 and, you know, Bob Lazar, right? And everything Bob Lazar said is pretty much right in line with what these people are verifying. You know what I mean? He's just saying that he was one of them that was brought in there to work on them, and that, you know, and the information that he's given, the sketches and stuff, and one of which was very interesting. I'm not sure if you guys saw it back in the day, but he said these saucers are kind of like separated into like a top section, a bottom section, so that's why they're bulged like that. The top section being the cockpit, and the bottom section being where there's 3 pendulums that hang, that have large cylindrical metal bits that are hanging from it, and it's all weird, you know, elements and things that we are not familiar with, supposedly, and shit. It's like metals that we don't have access to, and yada yada yada. And supposedly that based on the direction that these 3 pendulums point is how they direct the ships to ride like the magnetic waves and shit like that. And he drew like a little sketch, and I'll try to find it and put it up on the YouTube channel or the YouTube video, but it's actually very interesting, and based on how that ship on that slow motion footage I mentioned, the way that it like turned and like it looked, it's like, damn, it does actually make sense. Fucking Bob Lazar might actually not be fucking crazy. Like, he's always talked with such, like, you know, what is it, cadence, and like he's just straightforward. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't give a fuck whether or not you believe him or not. You know, he's got his footage from the test flights and all that back in the day, and you know,
I'm not on the conspiracy side theory side of it all about, you know, the whole aliens things and all that. But I'm pretty sure we're at the point where the tech is there, and why not just show it? Why make everybody freak out? You know, the whole question of, are we alone? No, fuck no.
Yeah, probably not.
This is an entire universe.
I'm definitely on more of that wave of not putting on my tinfoil hat or anything, but I definitely believe like there's life outside of our solar system.
It's
and
far more mathematically plausible that there would be some other, even mostly identical form of life somewhere, you know, like,
yeah, especially if like we're finding planets now that like are identical to Earth.
And then I read an article a couple of days ago where it said that, yeah, Earth is a little bit more rare than we consider, just because a lot of these Goldilocks zone planets that live in that realm of, you know, hospitable planets are normally like Earth giants, you know, like they have a lot of water. And you know, it's just certain water is very common, you know, because just those are 2 very common elements in the universe, you know what I mean? So having water doesn't necessarily mean that there's life. But my thing is, like, with the James Webb, like, we're starting to find galaxies that were far more developed along at the beginning of existence, like the Big Bang. Like, we're looking so far back and we're finding galaxies and planets and stuff like that are far more advanced and developed than we would expect those planets to be, you know, still being formed and still, you know, completely inhospitable, you know. But instead, the further we look out there, the more we realize that, you know, it wasn't as dramatic as, you know, there could be civilizations that have come and gone thousandfold in the millions of years that a galaxy has been formed, you know, closer to the beginning of time. You know what I mean? Like, we're in the scale of the universe, like, we're actually, you know, a decent bit into its lifespan and shit, you know, like, finding out that there are you know, planets and solar systems and galaxies out there that where we're at, essentially. Not like direct comparisons, obviously. I'm just saying that, like, you know, where there's formed planets, there's asteroid belts, there's a functioning sun, you know, whether it's a red dwarf or, you know, what have you. You know, it's just, I don't know. You don't fucking know. Like, could we? You can't even fathom it. It's like somebody telling you to, like, you know, just think of $1 trillion in $1 bills. Like, you can't fathom that and shit. It's the same thing as, like, what would a society be if they existed 10 million years before us? And what would they look like? And what would they be capable of? And, you know, did they die? Did they survive? And, like, can they travel? And, like, you know, that type of shit. So I think the problem with us in general is that we think that, like, everything starts with us. You know what I mean? Like, nothing could possibly come before us because, you know, we're the most advanced. Look at us, bro. We walk on 2 feet and we fucking, like, you know, we drink beer and shit. Like, we're fucking, like, we're lit, bro. Like, we're the shit. Like, there can't possibly be a planet out there with other living beings that are 1,000 years older than us or 10,000 years older than us, because the Earth, for one thing, has only been around for like 4,000 years, brother. You know what I mean? Like, fucking.
All right, flat Earth.
So it's like, you know, God created the Earth like 5,000 years ago, brother. And that's the whole mentality of us as humans. I think we have like that hubris where we can't possibly even consider that there's, you know, civilizations that maybe have come and gone 1,000 times before we even popped up. And you know, with just if that were the case, the things that they would be capable of or even conceiving, you know, would be just unimaginable to us, inconceivable. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this is going to trigger disclosure?
They got to
Wednesday.
come up with something, only because, I mean, these guys are under oath, you know,
True.
in front of Congress. And
yeah.
This is what is that, perjury or something like that?
That is perjury. If you willfully lie under oath. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, Grush is putting himself out there and straight out. And I mean, even during, I was watching the hearing. It was like, I think it was like an hour and 45 minutes ish, and they're just looking at him like, you got to be kidding me. You know, the typical, you're full of bullshit type of look on their faces, and you know, the tones.
Yeah.
When they're talking to him, it was just like,
I mean, I wouldn't put it past our government to like weasel their way out of like saying something or fully admitting.
I guess I didn't see their reaction though. Like, how did they react to all this? Were they like flabbergasted? Did they believe it, or did they think it was stupid and crazy and shit?
No, I mean, they gave off like the stupid, crazy looks.
Really?
Yeah. Every time he would explain to something, and even when she was asking about the biologics, and he was just like, you have all the information based on, you know, from the crashes and the evidence, you know, and she's just like, oh, okay.
See, and that could be like, and that's another thing where it's like, I feel like from what I saw, it could have been delivered a little more appropriately and be like, based on the sensitive nature of this information, obviously I can't give you like specific details, right? Like, I'm telling you, this is it. I'm under oath. I'm telling you. You know, yeah. It's like, these exist. We have them. We've been studying them. They keep happening. We're getting more of them. You know, I think that by this point, you know, it's just a disservice to America to continue lying.
You know, and the thing is that, you know, a lot of people retired from the DOD are coming out and claiming all this stuff. Yeah. So it's like they've had some type of exposure, that they've seen a document, you know, in a folder that said classified, you know, they peeked into it and it was there. And yeah. whether it's from, you know, a different galaxy or from fucking space or something, or it's alien, or it's literally tech that they don't want to release that we know.
And that's the thing, yeah. And that was the thing with yeah, exactly. Was Area 51 was a highly secretive test site where they did use very secretive American, you know, technologies, you know, and not even like crazy shit. I'm just talking about like jets and bombers and things like that we just did not want Russia and China and all these other countries to know how we're making it, you know. And
right.
Our stealth is essentially a big one.
I mean, yeah, look at our stealth bomber. Look how crazy that looked, right? And then that's like, it had like, when it first came out, it was like undetectable by radars because it had like this coating on it that bounced off the frequencies and
the
shit
shape
like that.
and shit like that.
So it's like, where did we get that tech from? Like,
I think also it's
we're
like
at that point.
yeah, like traveling like low elevation with that thing too. I remember I got low burned by one of those, puking my ass off on the way back from Bishop as a kid. I'm pretty sure I told that story, but the Shots Bakery in Bishop, California, gotta stop if you're ever in that area, which probably aren't. Nobody ever fucks out there, but Bishop, California, Shots Bakery, $25 worth of breads and cheeses and delicious cupcakes and pastries and shit. And then mahogany smoked meats for your jerky and shit. All right, where was I? So, anyways, I got a bunch of.
We lost D-Man real quick.
We got some gingerbread men, and I'd never had gingerbread, and I was like, damn, this is bomb. What the fuck? So I ate these big ass gingerbread men, and I got fucking sick on the way home. That's a $3.95, so it's the middle of the fucking desert. Mm-hmm. In the middle of the desert of California, close to Nevada. Could have been from Area 51. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. What is it? Edwards is out there or whatever.
Yeah.
But 2 F-14s and 1 stealth bomber. Stealth bomber is in the middle, obviously, and shit. Apparently saw me puking on the side of the road because we had a big dually, like a big landmark, like dually truck GMC and shit. So you probably see that shit from fucking space. So, like, they were doing their test flights in the middle of the desert, and they saw us, and they low burned it. Like, I thought they were going to take off the top of the fucking, like, the telephone poles. Like, it was, like, that low. And this thing burnt over. I barely got to see it. My parents were, like, hooting, hollering, and cheering and shit like that. But I'm like, puking and shit, and I see it, and they go out. And I remember they go out, and they get to the end of the valley, and they, like, bank, and then they turn around and they do it again and they come right back. That one I saw because I was like walking, I was like stumbling back to the truck and shit, and like wiping my face and shit, But yeah, they're out there, and the fucking thing is huge, bro. Like, it is a big motherfucker. It looks like a fucking UFO, like it's not quiet in the slightest, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, those things are absolutely the types of technology that you'd want to like lock up, during development. Exactly. and that type of shit. So I get that. And that was supposedly like, I don't know, have you seen the Bob Lazar stuff?
No.
He's a guy, bold face, from like the 80s or 70s, has been saying the exact same thing, that he was hired by the U.S. government as a contractor to work at particular sections of Area 51, and he details everything about his experience. He also was sent there to kind of like try to backwards engineer some of this technology and shit. And he described that like in the mountain ranges that are lining the sides of Area 51, that there are hangars that have like rock face doors that they kind of like they hide, camouflage. And instead, like when he was like going, and like he had a particular device that he was working on, but when he was like going to the hangar to like work on it, the other hangars were open, and there were different types of ships. They weren't just one like flying saucer types. Like there were different types that like distinctly looked unique to one another. You know what I mean? Like completely different. Like they've come from different places type shit.
And so he was just recently on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, he was on the Joe Rogan. Blew his fucking mind, because
yeah,
if you could say something straight face right to Joe Rogan, like eye contact, like he's like, yeah, this was legit. And I think Joe Rogan is on that, where he's like, I fucking believe him, dude.
I don't know, man. Joe Rogan's kind of I don't know, like when
off.
Tom was on Joe Rogan and I was watching that one, he's just like, this guy's fucking crazy. This guy's stupid. He's trying to make fun of him. And
Tom
then when he has
DeLonge,
somebody else come off and he's like, oh, this is so believable. It's so great. So it's like,
I think it depends on your delivery. I think it depends on your delivery.
And I get that point, because at that, Tom is like very like, I can't talk about that. I can't talk about that. It's like in the very early stages of like when he was starting to get into, talking to Department of Defense retirees and, Air Force people, Navy. So I get that. So he did come off a little like,
and again, that would be one of those things where you prime and be like, hey, before we get going, I need to let you know you're probably going to ask some questions that I
can't answer.
Can't answer because I've been directed not to. So like, I'll tell you when I can.
End up dead.
And when those answers come out, like I'll verify. And that probably would have helped, but he probably didn't do that. It's probably awkward and shit. But Bob Lazar, however, when he tells you and he specifically describes like the cockpit and like the dashboard of an alien, ship, like it's pretty gnarly and shit. And like he's been raided like numerous times. He has like a business, like he's been raided by like the FBI like for no reason, supposedly because he had like stolen stuff from top secret military, blah blah blah. They couldn't find anything, that type of shit.
Why does this fool also look like Stephen King?
He does, right?
Yeah.
He's got like those Stephen. He's got those lips, right? He's got those lips, bro, and he's got like this Dahmer type look to him too.
Yeah,
like the
He's
older
like,
pictures.
Like all his
Watch this.
facial features too, and like how he wears his glasses, like
Yeah, exactly.
type
Yeah.
of glasses.
He's got a Dahmer Stephen King.
Yeah, he's very strange. I
want
see
you
it,
to-
bro.
I
I
want you
know.
His
to-
it.
pictures.
long lost brother,
Yeah, I see
I
it.
just
I
want
see
to
it.
take some pictures.
I'm there with
cousin.
Don't say that, bro. Yeah, so like I think it's interesting. I think Bob Lazar probably is legit. Some of the shit that's happened to him kind of seems like off the wall. Like you don't need to do that if there was no reason to worry about this guy. You know what I mean? So we might actually have full disclosure. It might not come by Wednesday, TM, but maybe next Wednesday. But
We didn't say which Wednesday.
that's the joke when it comes to disclosure. It's coming Wednesday. It's
I don't know.
coming
I
next
mean,
Wednesday.
just let it out. If it's alien shit, just let it out. We already
Yeah.
know that we're not alone at that point. But
I honestly do think that people would probably have a hard time just accepting it, though. I
We already
mean,
have
War of the
aliens
Worlds.
walking among us, right?
War of the Worlds was a pretty good, a pretty good experiment as to how people would react.
oh, dude, that's great.
Yeah.
Especially when it was only radio.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now with the type of shit that people would do, it's because people would still troll after.
Oh,
So,
you have
you
AI
know.
that's gonna make that can create the most realistic looking videos now.
Yeah, well, I mean, just people that would make the videos to begin with. They've been making fake UFO videos for fucking
Yeah.
decades. So now it's like, okay, so they've attacked a small like tribe in the Amazon or something like that, and like declared war, and like you see like all this crazy footage and shit. People would lose their fucking mind. Like they would
Yeah.
lose their mind because they're stupid and they can't discern real from fake. We know how stupid people are. So. Not to mention, like, for all we know, the aliens probably were just like, hey, fool, like, do not, like, we'll help you, but do not tell anybody.
Yeah.
You're like, we don't
Yeah,
want,
chill out.
Yeah, but like we're like, the second you say anything, we're out, because you people are fucking crazy. Like, I've already said it, like, yeah, it is true. Like, they probably do lock their doors when they drive by our planet and shit. Like, we are the hood and shit, this is the body
Yeah.
down here and shit.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and like you see footage where it's just like, oh yeah, we're just unloading at unidentified things in the sky and shit. Like there was footage from like I don't know, Kazakhstan or something like that, where they're just bombarding some floating light in the sky. The Battle of LA shit. You know what I mean? Which happened in World War II. People who don't know, I believe it was World War II, but. We thought we were being attacked, but really it was a floating object above Los Angeles that we just started unloading into with like mortar shells and shit. And it did nothing. It like laughed at us and shit. It just sat there, floated. We had spotlights on it and shit. I say we, but like, Americans and shit. But spotlights on it. They didn't know what it was. And eventually it just took off unscathed. Took everything we could throw at it and dipped. That was dubbed the Battle of LA, not the movie from like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, which is terrible, but
That's a great movie. I like it.
that was an actual thing that happened with something. That happens like a couple times. Like we've had instances where like we've unloaded on things and it just like shrugged it off and flew away. So I don't know. We've been talking about that for a long time, but yeah, I thought it was an interesting conversation we can have because I mean, people, I forgot what that whole rule is where it's like, how come they haven't said anything? How come we have no proof? And how come we have none of this? So more likely than not, we are alone. And then you have the other side of that coin where it's like, well, based on just sheer mathematics alone, probability, based on how many planets we know could have life, this is most likely how many planets do have life. And like, there's two sides to the coin. You can like argue it and shit like that. I think it's just... Same thing with like I don't know, like religion and or Darwinism or any of that philosophical shit where it takes a certain level of like belief where it's like, nah, well, if it can't be proven, then you know, I'm just gonna chill. I'm not gonna like disprove it. If I don't have the evidence to disprove it, like how the fuck I can't say it's true or not. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's equally as foolish for people to kind of just dismiss as just as much as just blindly believing something. You know what I mean? In my mind, blindly not believing is just as stupid. So, you know, I personally think we probably do have them zipping around. They probably did come at some point and help us a little bit, and then they saw us do some shit in World War II and be like, whoa,
Fuck out of here, bro.
Fucking Oppenheimer and shit. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing with that whole too, is like we had like a sudden spike in these reports right after World War II, once we started splitting atoms and shit, and like
started fucking with life.
Like they can actually like fuck some shit up, like whoa. And that's maybe when they just decided to stop like chilling and shit. And they're like, nah, we're not gonna go down there and shit. We'll just stick to the oceans and shit. We'll make some really fucked up like jellyfish and just like release them into the wild for them to find like every year. Like, you
the worm
those,
that came
right?
back to life after like 40,000 years.
Yeah, not
we're
stoked.
fucked on that one, bro.
Not stoked. Yeah, that's been the case though.
We just released the thing or whatever.
Yeah,
the worm
we just
is
released like
one.
another fucking like disease that's gonna kill us and shit.
Yeah, we've had bacteria and shit that have come back to life and all that. It's like, well, I mean, we can't really do very much about that.
I mean, you
Those
got Elon
motherfuckers are
Musk,
melting.
you got fucking Facebook.
Yeah, you got everything.
Those guys are aliens, so
Yeah. Well, I mean, Zuckerberg for sure, 100%. I'm pretty sure. I think
He's
honestly,
a robot.
Elon he's a robot from the future and shit. I think I think Elon existed in the future, and he's like really dumb. But like when he like looks back at like history and shit,
he's like, I could be the smartest man over here.
exactly. So he like made a little plan, and then he came back.
Jumpered.
But it explains a lot, especially in this next
would.
story. So we'll go ahead and jump into the Elon Musk and X. But first, I want to read you guys a story. And this is why he's a robot from the future that has technologies that are far more convenient and advanced than what we're used to as mere humans in the year 2023. Quote, Elon comes down and he walks over to the breakfast bar and he picks up a package of Pop-Tarts, Thompson said. And the funniest thing to me was the fact that most of us take Pop-Tarts for granted. He was transfixed. This was like a scene out of 2001: A Space Odyssey, when the apes examined the monolith. It was clearly the most fascinating thing he had seen that morning. Eventually, Musk realized that Pop-Tarts were best enjoyed toasted, so he opened a package and put 2 of them in the toaster, Thompson said. Only Musk made the rookie mistake of inserting the pastries horizontally rather than vertically. When they popped back up, he had to stick his fingers into the toaster to grab his breakfast. This was a problem. And at about 6 in the morning, Musk proceeded to scream at full volume, "Fuck it, birds! Fuck it, birds!" 2 older ladies at the front desk nearby watched in mortified silence. So this dude, right, is perceived to be like this genius, especially if you're on X these days. Are we gonna call it X or are we gonna call it Twitter?
It's X, bro.
All right. So we'll call it X. We'll call it X. All right. We'll call it X.
Hey, my app still looks like a Twitter bird. So.
Mine too, yeah,
bro.
because I got
Twitter
the Apple.
formerly, or is it X formerly known as Twitter?
Damn, they're gonna have to, right? They have to do something because the copyright. We'll talk about that, but yeah, Elon Musk is too stupid to operate a toaster. He doesn't know how to like fucking do basic shit. So now we have this individual who wants to make X into something that it's not, and I'm getting real strong like MySpace vibes, like the whole like, you know, let's integrate music into the whole platform and yada yada yada. He wants to make the everything app. I guess there's like a Chinese app. What's it called? WhatsApp? I think it's called WhatsApp.
Yeah, the
it's like
texting one.
It's like the everything app. Like it's not just texting, it's like everything. Like it handles like credit card transactions, it handles like posting, it handles like chat, direct messaging.
Right.
It's like an everything app, yeah, over there. And that's his fascination. He wants to make Twitter X into an everything app, and he even specifically mentions like payment processing and that type of shit. He wants it to be like a big player in like stock market and all that. It's leading back to his deal in like the 90s where he owned X.com and he wanted PayPal to be called X.com, but like literally it sounds like a website you go to stroke your dick and shit. So like everybody was like, no, we're not going to call it fucking X.com. We'll call it PayPal. And so then he gets like voted out because he's an idiot, and then he goes and becomes Elon Musk and shit, and then gets like hair implants and shit. But right back, just the old uncreative, beat a dead horse type shit. He's like forcing that X.com into Twitter. Like he's obsessed with it. He needs it. And like Twitter's so recognizable. The logo is so recognizable. Everything about it. And like saw some other people talking about it. It's like literally the only thing that Twitter has is brand recognition. Like that's literally all it has, and he is sabotaging that intentionally. And I had gone, I mean, I don't know if it was an episode when you guys were on the show or if it was before when all this started, but I had specifically said that he's bitter. This was like right when he like walked through the door type shit, where it's like he's bitter. He was forced to buy this shit, and he's going to destroy it. And he's going to make whatever money he can off it. It's probably not a big loss to him, but he's basically there to destroy Twitter. Because by the end of it, he was just getting shit on because he was saying stupid shit, and then people were just like ripping on him constantly. So
It's lasted longer than I thought, though.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
I honestly thought he was going to do it within like a year. Just call it a
he
day.
tried, to be honest. Like a lot of shit has been done to try to fuck it over, but really people are just so set in their ways. It's going to take a big like MySpace level shift in where it's like, hey, now you can add music that auto plays on your profiles.
Just
and
bring
like,
MySpace back.
bring
Just
MySpace.
do
I mean,
it.
it's here. It never left.
I know Threads got his panties all in a bunch.
Threads died though pretty fucking quickly, to be honest.
What? You were all like, it's
No, I still use it.
Thing.
I still think it, and
I
I still do think that it will be
Instagram 2.0.
but it's missing specific things that people needed at launch for it to actually hold, and they're just taking too long to do it. People still use it, and like every outlet is still using Threads as like a secondary method. It's especially since it's easier to integrate that into your like social dashboards. Like when you work for these companies, they can post like one thing to a lot of social medias. They use like a hub, like a website.
Yeah.
Threads actually allows you to integrate, and you can post that. Twitter, they removed that API support unless you paid like what was it, like $2 million or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck that stupid shit was. You know what I mean? Like that's like only done to sabotage, right? Like that was a move that Elon did pretty early on. So I think he's been trying. You got to go after the people that like drive the traffic, and that is these content creators, the Kotakus and the New York Times and the Variety and Entertainment Weeklies that are posting content for people to then go and like run with and retweet and like and discuss and yada yada yada. He went directly after them, and then he started going after the users with the whole everything since, fucking laundry list of stupid shit that he's done with users. From the viewing cap to removing the one specific thing that made Twitter different from Facebook really was the limit to the characters. You didn't have to worry about reading somebody's fucking novel when they wanted to tell you what they ate for breakfast and shit. You get
Or that stupid story that you read, and then it's like not even a story because like somebody just copy and pasted it.
yeah, like
And
okay,
you're like,
now,
you motherfucker.
now
I'm
paste
gonna
this
give my 5 minutes back.
send this to 12 other people, or you're gonna fucking die by
dude.
midnight and shit. It's like,
Fucking
oh my God.
chain letters.
Chain letters.
I thought chain letters died.
Nah, they
But
just
no, they
evolved.
didn't.
They just evolved.
I thought they went with MySpace.
No. So like, I think he's intentionally doing it. I think whatever the end result is, it's not going to be the only, and I do think that no matter how far it goes, it could probably come back. Whoever the next owner of this is, if they have that Twitter name and that branding to go along with it, they could easily just bring back Twitter, get rid of everything that he's done, and bring back the old Twitter, and people would be stoked.
Zuckerberg.
I mean, what is his name? Jerry or some shit, or it has a name, and people didn't even realize until like he got murdered and shit, because they literally killed that bird. They murdered that bird. That bird is dead. Yeah, so there's a laundry list of stupid shit, but I just thought it was hilarious that Elon Musk, the super genius, doesn't know how to operate a fucking toaster. You know what I mean? Like,
It's That's tech that's below him, bro.
I mean, that there is none. You know what I mean? Like, you think fucking Iron Man doesn't know how to use a fucking toaster and shit?
No, he doesn't. He has, what's his name using it?
I mean, he probably has.
Iron Man's dead.
Bro, Iron Man will live, bro. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, so I mean, fuck Elon Musk, fuck X. That shit sucks. I said I wasn't going to use it anymore, but really I have to, just because it's way too easy to compress stories and go back to it. Even like putting together my scripts, I cannot just bring up threads on my desktop and, work. I have to like use my phone to like scroll through threads, my history, to see what I liked and reposted and then type it out and yada yada yada. So there are certain things that they need to get their shit together and do it quick, because the numbers are falling off fast. However, personally, I do like that platform better for like a boomer use. If I want to be like fucking raunchy and like, yell at people and shit, then Twitter's still where it's at. You know what I mean? Make
I like
fucking,
cesspools. Cesspools are great.
It really is like a cesspool, and sometimes it's nice rolling in some shit. Sometimes,
yeah, dude.
Yep.
It's your pig pen.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I was watching Pulp Fiction. I don't trust any animal that doesn't disregard its own feces and shit.
I just don't dig on swine.
Just don't dig on swine. Next one on here. I love this one. This one happened like while we were recording last time. But I love this. FTC chair Lena Khan questioned by House Judiciary Committee after court denied the preliminary injunction against the Microsoft Activision merger. Quote, "You seem to be losing quite a bit, and I don't say that to be disrespectful, but these are, after all, taxpayer funds," Kevin Kiley said. "You're now 0-4 in merger trials. The average win rate for the FTC in the modern antitrust era is around 75%. So I have to ask, why are you losing so much?" Ouch. Fucking burn.
Fucking sucks, bro.
Oh my god.
Mic drop.
Like, I'm not calling you a loser, but why the fuck are you losing so much, bro?
Yeah,
Holy
But you
shit.
dumb.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're dumb, but you're not very smart. Let's just say that way. So yeah, this comes, the FTC got shot down by the court being like, bro, you can't keep just coming being like, we don't like these two companies doing this, so we're going to fight it. Like, you're going to lose, because everything about this, and it goes back to day one when I said it on the show, was like, it's bullshit. It's posturing. They're writing the fact that there's a large group of fanboys, especially ponies, who absolutely want to see Microsoft fail, because that's just the rhetoric of that side, the fucking the console war veterans and their fucking in their gamer wheelchairs and shit, rolling around fucking waving their canes at Xbox fans and shit. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing there. There's no substance. There's nothing. Like, capitalism does not allow you to say, these companies can join, but this one can't. There's a certain point where, like, you have the Bell breakup in like the 80s, where Pac Bell, AT&T essentially grew so big and massive that they had an oligopoly going on, not a monopoly. Mono is one, but an oligopoly. They had a pretty strong presence. That was just too much. Same thing with Facebook, actually, they're talking about now. In which case, the proper steps can be taken to break that company up. But it's a process. And you can't just say, just be like Microsoft buying fucking Activision is going to be some type of powerhouse monopoly in gaming. Like, are you fucking high? Like, Ubisoft, EA, like fucking CD Projekt Red, like DICE, like the list goes on of so many different developers and publishers and shit that are not associated with this transaction or these companies at all. So being like, just because Microsoft is buying Activision, all of a sudden Microsoft is going to be a monopoly is like the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my fucking life. And I hate it, and they still say it. But, going back to like that comment that I made back in the day where it's like, it's just not going to happen. This is all going to be wasted money. It's just going to be wasted fucking time. And eventually they're going to be like, there's nothing we can do. The CMA that same day announced that they're going to go back and work with Microsoft to come to a reasonable understanding and agreement. And then the next day, the announcement came out that Microsoft and Sony struck a deal on COD, and they're going to keep it on their systems for like a decade or whatever and shit like that. So it was all a big fucking waste of time at like the expense of taxpayer money because Sony ponies are so fucking petty. And like it's specifically like Sony ponies. And like, you know, majority of us here are PlayStation owners, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just we're not choosing sides here, or I'm not choosing sides here. It's just the fact that one side is clearly stupider than the other, and like all the arguments that were being made were so careless and loose and just way too loose with it, man. You know what I mean? Like you're making us look stupid and shit. So I'm glad it's over. All we need now is just to wait for the CMA to get their head out of their ass and be like, oh, okay, yeah, we were stupid. And then it's all good. Everything else has been verified and good. It's been checked off, green checks. All the other countries and regulatory, branches aside from the FTC, they've been pushed aside. Like it's good to go. You got the red carpet. Just gotta wait for CMA specifically to be like, yeah, we'll let you sell here, whatever and shit. So that was what they got shit on for. Was the fact that they keep trying to stop these very reasonable and basic capitalism, mergers. They're not some gigantic big thing. It's just one company buying another one, because if they don't, that company's going under, and that's just how it works. Because without this going on, like COD would be gone in like a decade and just wouldn't exist. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed or heard. But right after all this, in the last few days, Kenny, breathe a little fucking louder, all right? You made me fucking lose my spot, Kenny. But yeah, not sure if you guys noticed, COD, all the servers are like back up and running and shit. Like,
oh yeah, I was playing it last week.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people like hopping on Modern Warfare like 3 and stuff.
I think Modern Warfare 2 is a big popular one. I don't know what I have, but presumably if you have what?
It had the best maps.
Yeah, it did actually. I don't know which one we played with our stealth rounds, which were dope.
Oh, the sniper ones?
Yeah. I mean, that was just like, it's so creative of a gameplay.
I think that was Modern Warfare 2.
And maybe it was.
Yeah, it's probably 2.
But presumably, if you have an Xbox Gold, or I don't know if they have Xbox Live or whatever the fuck it is anymore, but if you have an online membership, which you shouldn't have to pay for as gamers in the year 2023, brothers, sisters, rise up enough with these monthly subscription for fucking playing online. Like, console gamers should be so fucking irate about that, just in general. The audacity. But yeah, presumably if you have an Xbox 360, you could pop in your disc and you have, your connection, and you can actually play some old school rounds on your old school consoles, which would be pretty dope. I mean, I don't know I have some Modern Warfare games somewhere. I don't know where they're at. I have a 360, but I don't have Xbox Live, and I'm not paying for that shit. It's just not, nope. But that does mean that they're, maybe it's a little flex, being like, here's what we can give you if you guys shut the fuck up and just let us go. Like, we'll give you all the CODs, brother. Like, we'll let you play every COD, any COD.
Like, as soon as that case was going through, they were just like, we fixed all the servers.
Yeah, like we'll do it.
We're fine.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if this is the type of shit that we're gonna get from this merger, where they're gonna treat COD with like respect and make sure that all these servers are running for people to play and all that stuff, and it does increase like a community type aspect to COD, then hey man, what the fuck are you complaining about, bro? Like, what the fuck are you complaining about? You know what I mean? So next story, man spends $14,000 to become a border collie.
Stupid.
Hey, you
Stupidest
man.
fucking thing I've ever read. The fact that he spent that much money on a realistic costume.
Yeah. The face is fucking weird, man. Is that a real
so
border collie?
creepy,
It looks
dude.
taxidermy.
It does look
The
taxidermy.
face looks taxidermy.
And the paws. Look at the
It's like
paws.
fucking
A little too big,
like
yeah.
Tusk.
He's not the skinniest
What are
lad, you could
those?
tell, yeah. Definitely not. He's not some fucking, some skinny dude. He's not some twink in there and shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's got some pounds on and shit. You could tell that there's a person in that thing, but he.
Toko-san.
I do like the last like sentence of that article where he's just like, "Yeah, I don't tell anybody about the shit because like I don't want anybody to know, especially people from work. Fuck that."
And now they do.
Course.
You know.
I mean, maybe if he gets doxxed, then that's fucked up. But this is the type of shit where it's like, yeah, this seems like warning signs. This like. You're gonna find him in like 2 or 3 years, and it's gonna be like a really fucked up story and shit. Like,
or they found him hung in a closet.
No, like animal abuse type shit.
It's gonna be like fucking Tusk.
Let's just say that he wants to be an animal. You know what I mean? He wants to
and then
be
he's gonna
a
mate.
dog.
He's gonna
yeah. So it's gonna.
I'm now the point of bestiality.
Let's not get too much into the details and shit. But you know where I'm going at. I'm just saying.
I see. We're
As
just
soon as you start
progressing.
talking about it, Lucas would
He's like,
gladly.
oh, yeah, fucking animals. I got you. So that's where my mind goes with that. It's like, this is gonna end up bad, bro. It's like, why are we doing this? Why are we allowed
Is this like a step up of furries?
This is
furry? This isn't furries.
This is like the Chad version of furry, to be honest. This is like this was like committed and shit. Furries, that's more. I don't know. That's got like a sex twist.
Because furries
to
still
it.
walk on
I
their
don't think
two
this-
legs, on their two legs, on their legs. They still walk upright. This guy is going full blown.
Yeah, he's on all fours, right?
Yeah,
He's-
the way he
he's
lays
furry
down. Like, how do you
2.0.
lay down like that?
Yeah, and the thing with furries is like, I'm not trying to offend the furries out there. I do think you guys.
I have
are
no
fucking
problem
weird,
with
though. I think you guys are weird as fuck. But that's more of like a flamboyancy to it. That's a boisterous, a display of weirdness. You know what I mean? Like it's being comfortable with yourself and shit. No, yada yada yada. This, however, this fool just wants to be like an animal and shit. This is like the type of person that you'd like read an article about in like Rolling Stones or some shit where they spent like $50,000 on actual surgical upgrades to like look like an animal. You know what I mean? Like that type of shit. It's a different category of fucking weird. Like I said, this one to me, especially looking at the dead eyes of that fucking dog, is like, this has a really dark ending, bro. Like I can already see this shit. We're barely on
I'm just
chapter
gonna go
3.
back to the whole alien thing. This is why they don't want to.
Exactly. They saw this fool like walking around, like, look at that fool. Look at that fool right
things like
there. Like,
this.
look at him.
Like, you can't trust them
Yeah,
with our technology.
What the fuck?
Fuck no, dude.
Yeah. I saw that. I saw a picture. I was like, that's not is it? That's not the actual. I mean, that looks real, but it looks like taxidermy.
It definitely looks taxidermy.
Soulless, dead eyes. Just dead eyes. I just thought that'd be interesting to throw in there. After 20 years.
Like a windshield wiper for like a tail or something.
Well, my thing is like, because he doesn't look like he could see through it. So I wonder if he has like a little camera, you know what I mean? Like, and has like a screen inside, and
he's
just
wearing
like, does that. You know what I mean?
the Apple Vision.
Like, would it really cost you $15,000 to make that? Like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think it would cost $15,000. There's got to be some other shit in there. You know
It
what I
also
mean?
must be
It
hot
says
as fuck.
high
in
tech
that
dog
suit.
costume. So
Yeah, it's probably got some shit in it. It's probably got like a cooling thing.
it's like, what do you
and
call
it's
it?
got, like,
Ace Ventura. When
It's like
he's
Ace
a
Ventura
rhino.
with a rhino. I was just thinking about that.
That's one of my guilty pleasures is watching movie reactions
giving birth.
specifically to that scene. It's like, I love it. It has to have some like crazy shit. I want to see it, but he'd have to take it off. In which case, you run the risk of seeing his true identity. So we'll never know. We'll never know.
He'll come out.
Probably should have mentioned this during the Microsoft talk, but after 20 years, Major Nelson leaving Microsoft.
Well, Xbox Live is dead, right?
Yes, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know what the fuck is going on over there.
Right?
It's dying.
all
Yeah.
Something's
Game
being
Pass.
phased out, but something else
Yeah.
is being left in. And
He's the creator of Xbox Live, and the head.
He's the face of. There's like 2 or 3 notable faces at Microsoft where it's just like, damn, you know what, that fellow has been around for a minute. I probably want to get the fuck out of there too, to be honest. Like, especially with all this AI shit, and I don't want to be involved with the downfall of society and shit. Get the fuck out of here. He said he wants to enjoy summer and what Seattle has to
summer.
offer. I guess it's like, bro, I was in Seattle last week, bro. I don't know if you want to. I don't think you want to enjoy that shit.
We thought about going to Seattle, and we're just like,
I mean, Seattle is one thing, but everything
done with
else, for one thing, like, Washington is like awesome, but Seattle sucks. Much like Los Angeles sucks, and like a lot of California.
City. You look at San Francisco. You look at Oregon. You know.
Yeah, we got the fucking during COVID. We got the Portland like runoff. It was really bad in Portland, and then they kind of just made their way north and shit. Now they're like
migrated,
in Seattle. So yeah, it does suck. I literally had to drive around somebody who's shooting up heroin in the parking lot and shit. I'm like, all right, well, so I was like, I might not want to park here, but I'm thinking, pull on out of this motherfucking parking lot, and just drive on down the street and shit. And sure enough, we drive by 5 minutes later, and there's like cars parked in there, and there's some ladies like walking around. And shit. I was like, there was literally somebody shooting up heroin in that spot 4.5 minutes ago. Like literally, we had to drive around that. We did not give a fuck that we were there and shit. Like holy shit. So I don't know how much of Seattle Major Nelson wants to actually enjoy, but
I mean, he's been up there since like the start of Xbox.
Yeah, Microsoft is up here. There's a lot up here, but
the controller literally tells you hello from Seattle?
Bellevue, Bellevue, Washington.
That's where Bungie is too.
Bungie, I think Amazon's up here too.
Oh yeah, it tells you hello from Seattle.
Washington.
It's on the back of the controller.
Everything is up here. It's a very, very strong, like outside of Silicon Valley, like this is the next spot. You know what I mean? A lot of gaming and like animation stuff is up here.
It's Kenny's Mecca.
So Major Nelson, fucking 07s and chats, boys. Salute. We will miss you. Enjoy your retirement, just as much as Reggie, my man Reggie over at Nintendo.
He's getting out when it's good.
Yeah, and then he went to fucking GameStop right before that GameStonk shit went down, and then he dipped after that. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, he wonder if he got a payout from that. He probably got some money from it. Yeah, dude, holy shit, probably behind it. And then another pog for fucking Reggie, if that's the case. My man is a hero and shit. Fucking ruling the Pacific Northwest up here and shit. NBC Universal found to be responsible for the random summertime tree trimming lining the sidewalks used by SAG-AFTRA and WGA protesters. Fined $250 by the city. Labor complaints filed.
The best $250 that NBC spent.
I mean, dick move, obviously.
That's
pretty funny.
Move. That's
power move for sure.
100%.
It's a big dick move. It will kill the trees because you don't do that in California.
We don't need trees.
We're not talking about trimming. We're talking about they took these things down to the fucking there was like 3 leaves on each tree left and shit. Yeah, there was like just what they couldn't reach basically. Like they're just throwing a chainsaw at that fucking thing. It's a dick move. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. That in itself is almost evil because it could result in people fainting and shit like that.
They don't have to be out there.
In which case, they're getting fucking paid like $20,000 a year, and they're getting their fucking likeness taken so that they could be used indefinitely for all time and shit.
Yeah,
they're getting fucked over and shit. Like they make less than somebody serving fucking cheeseburgers at McDonald's.
It's called an umbrella. Carry it.
I mean, they had tents. That was my thing. I was like, just pop up tents. Fuck them. If that's the case, fuck them. Bring out some lawn chairs and chill.
Our scheduled time to trim the trees. So fuck off.
It really wasn't actually. They also looked at that. There was no scheduling. They just did it. Like fucking yeah. It was the studio that did it. They didn't call out the people that do the tree trimming, and the trees hadn't been trimmed in at least 3 years prior. So
that's why it was actually due for tree trimming.
Yeah, it was causing too much shade and shit.
Every 3 years we do our tree trimming. Not my fault. You guys had to go on strike at this time
in the middle of bleeding hot summer and shit, where the trees will die and shit. So yeah, they got fined a big $250. News also that Netflix is hiring a position for an AI product manager. That is paying $900,000 a year, which triggers outrage because, like I said, actors are anybody in Hollywood's getting paid like minimum wage, like rates and shit. Then you got like Zaslav. How much money did that fool make? Wasn't it like $475 million or some shit like that? Iger is only making like $175 million in comparison of all people. Zaslav, Zaslav though, Warner Brothers, bro. What do you have that would warrant you being paid more than anything? You know what I mean? Like at least Bobby Kotick, you're just like, fuck you, Bobby, bitch. Like you're at the head of like WoW and all that shit. Of course, yeah, I get it, but WB, bro, we just literally had the Flash. which I don't know if you guys heard the news, but it was like
Got
the
taken off,
biggest
right?
flop.
It was like worse than Green Lantern. Yeah.
Yes, it had a worse money or intake than Green Lantern. Absolute dumpster fire of a film. I mean, I watched it. It was pretty fucking bad, to be honest. But they're taking these hits, and that's one of those ones where it's like, damn, man, you probably should have just shelved that shit and gotten rid of it. You know what I mean? And now they're like timidly looking over at Aquaman 2, knowing that shit's gonna come, and it's like, ugh. So I'm befuddled as to why Zaslav of all people would be the one getting the most money. Like, fuck that idiot. He also is like the main baddie of all this, I guess. Like, he's like the main antagonist. He's the one that's perceived as being the one who doesn't give two fucks about like anybody. You know what I mean? So some evil shit. But now we have SAG in there, so we got actors joining it. And can't have a movie without actors. You can have AI write, you can have AI write fucking
Scripts.
dialogue and scripts and shit like that, but you can't
Oh,
have
yeah,
we
AI
had that
now.
AI Twitch stream that destroyed Seinfeld.
that was pretty bad. I think they got shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, like real quick, didn't
instantly.
it?
Nah, it wasn't. No, it lasted for weeks because I remember going back and being like, "Nah, this was as bad as I remember for sure." It was pretty shitty. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that yeah, of course, obviously, if these assholes are getting paid that much money, cut that shit in half and disperse it equally again, throughout everybody else, and get those rates up, because living in California and off of 26 grand in LA specifically is fucked. And anybody that thinks otherwise is also
LA, that's
fucked.
for sure.
Yeah, you're living out in the fucking boonies, over the hill and shit, out where little mom and pop towns are and shit, having to take a fucking hour and a half commute just to get into the valley and shit. Like, nah, like 26 grand is unreasonable for anybody, let alone people in that type of industry where the money is so fucking abundant. You know what I mean? Like, they're shitting money. One interesting thing, and I want to hear what you guys have to think about or have to say about this one. I read something. I read it as a tweet, and somebody gave their opinion. It said the reason that they will not cave on this is because for them to specifically divulge, they have to divulge this information. If they want to come to an agreement, all of this information, viewing statistics, earnings and shit, has to be divulged so that common ground can be met and an agreement can be made. However, these streaming platforms specifically do not release numbers. Like, that's the issue with it. And TV shows going over to streaming was a big issue at the beginning because you didn't know if a TV show was good because there were no numbers being shown, like 4 million
Right.
on TV, 4.8 million people watched this episode, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, oh, not too bad then, huh? Well, you can't have that when you're on a streaming platform, and they've been like protecting that information diligently. So they'd have to disclose that information publicly, which under assumption would display numbers far, far lower than what is being perceived as their viewing numbers, and in the way that that's all set up, and just based on goodwill, I guess, and the trust of that whole thing, is that these sponsors, these investors, these shareholders, they are going based on the fact that these companies are telling them that they're doing well, when really they're functioning at a loss. And that the second that shareholders get wind of the fact that these streaming platforms are actually tanking money for them, that it's basically like a snake eating its own tail type shit, that they're going to start dumping their shares, and that it's just going to just obliterate these companies. So they're like genuinely concerned that if they actually do come to an agreement over any of the streaming shit, that it will literally like tank their companies. Like, what do you think?
I mean, that I would definitely think that that's like a possibility. Like, if numbers are actually like wrong and not what they say, and they're just fictitious, and
I mean, they don't really even say numbers. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like
it
here
just like
and
brings
there.
up like, oh,
Yeah,
like
it's just,
when
like,
like
past
big
okay.
shows come out like in big episodes, it's like, oh, it's the number one like streaming.
You could
like,
say that. You could just say it. You don't have
Yeah.
to. Like, just
Or like whenever you see like, oh, this had this many views, like, is it real? Like
Yeah.
when like Game of Thrones like was like big, and they're like, oh, it's the number one. They had like 17 million.
Yeah, and what's that called? The Nelson rating or whatever.
Yeah.
They calculate all that. They track all that so that it is a very helpful tool for people like you and I to, know what might actually be good and worth our time for watching and shit like that. And these companies, when they're pumping out this shit content on their streaming platforms, that's not what they're going for. You know what I mean? They're just filling the shelf so that you have something worth your money. They don't care.
It makes
if
it
it's
look like it's worth your money while you're scrolling.
And there was a comment from Peacock, I think it was, where they said that they're no longer going to be making like their own movies. Didn't know they were. No fucking idea. Or Paramount. I think it was Paramount Streaming or some shit.
Okay.
And they're like, we're no longer going to be making blah, blah, blah. We're only going to be focusing on IPs because we lost X amount of money and shit. Like, they just flat out said it. But again, like, that's what these, like, they said that they did not want to continue to invest money in standalone new IPs in hopes that people will like it. And like the way I took that was like, that is the most hollow, like Hollywood mentality I've like ever heard in my life. You know what I mean? Like, they're literally just throwing fucking darts at a dartboard and just hoping that it works. You know what I mean? Like, when somebody picked up like an early Tarantino script and read it through, they knew they had something, you know what I mean? And they gave that movie a chance, and that's what made it so monumental, those movies and shit like that, you know what I mean? Same thing with Spielberg. When they read and saw him work, they understand they had somebody, you know what I mean? But now they're just whatever, bro. How much is it gonna cost? Fuck it. Go make it and shit. And then it sucks and people hate it, and then it's just like whatever, and we just move on, and they don't have to report on those numbers of people hating it, because all they're doing is just appeasing the shareholders with whatever rhetoric they have, and then based on this theory, it would basically undermine that whole thing. And that's why they're willing to basically just stop working for a year, like all of Hollywood and shit. So it's got to be a big deal. And I think I mentioned it to one of you guys or both of you guys that there has to be a benefit for them. There has to be something for them to make this worth it. And that to me is like, that's the light, you know what I mean? Like, that's the bulb going off. Like, of course, like, that's it. Like, they're obviously losing fuck ton of money on streaming platforms. Like, we already know that with like, Xbox Game Pass and shit, that they lose tons of fucking money. It's the same thing with like these rights and why these properties come in and out of these different streaming platforms, and Spider-Man's over here, and then it's here, and then it's over here next week. And, they're renting the rights for these things and at a loss, and it's unsustainable. And I do think that their entire companies would be at jeopardy if because it's not about what if they can offer to the customers. It's about what they say and how they say it to shareholders. And if they get spooked, then it doesn't fucking matter what you have. If the company tanks, it is done. You know what I mean? Like, that is it. Warner Brothers would be fucked. Not Disney, obviously not Disney and shit. But you know what I mean? Like, that's one of those things. I think Disney's doing it just because they're fucking Disney, and fuck you. That's just how they live and shit.
You abide by the mouse.
You abide by the mouse, or you get the fuck out and shit.
Abide by the mouse.
So yeah, I think it's some evil shit. Fuck them. I'm not a fan of all this, and I don't think any of those execs deserve that type of money. And I'd empathize a little bit with it in the last show, where it's just like, yeah, if I was on the corporate side, I get it, and I would do this, but certain aspects of it, it's like, nah, that's too fucked up, and that's just, it's a little dirty. And then you kind of look at this, and it's like, okay, so they've been like actively lying to people and inflating their value and shit like this. Like, something's gonna happen. Like, this is big. This is like history type shit. Like, this is big. Yeah. This is not like, there was another strike of SAG-AFTRA, I think it was like a long time ago, like in the 70s or 80s, about like residuals. This is different. This is for AI likeness.
I was just like reading something about residuals. Josh Peck was talking about, like, when he was on Drake and Josh, that the lead actors of Nickelodeon don't get residuals, but anyone that was like just a a minor character would get residuals, or like would show themselves for like 2-3 episodes. They get residuals on episodes, but the main actors didn't.
Huh.
Which is fucking ridiculous.
Lucas, you remember Darnell? I don't know if you remember that fool. He went to high school with us for like freshman
Yeah,
year,
the
I
background
think.
actor.
Yeah, and he did Disney roles and shit. I remember that fool came and rubbed it in my face because I had a thing for like Hillary Duff back then and shit. And he came like, yo, I was on Lizzie McGuire last week, bro. I was in the back. Yo, she got an ass, bro. Yo, she got an ass. I'm like, man, fuck you, fool. Like, get the fuck out of here. And shit. He's like, I hate it. It's not bad. Yeah, like I would be flabbergasted. But the way that he explained it was that they kicked him $300 and told him to kick rocks and shit. Like that's just that's how they handled like those background actors and shit like
And
that.
thank you for your service.
Yeah. Other story. I mean, you are literally cattle when you're a background actor. They push you in a direction you're supposed to go. That's it. And that was another thing with this whole thing, and I mean, we don't want to go over detail about this because it's been going on for so long, but really, like, the residuals for streaming is not the same as TV, and that there has not been an agreement struck with the residuals for streaming, and that is that agreement that I was talking about, where for them to appropriately calculate specific residuals, they can only do that if they divulge the very specific viewing, numbers of all of these IPs and properties and their streaming platforms and shit. So, yeah, I think that person's right. I think that's actually how it's going down. And I think that if they did flat out say that they're not making as much money, that shareholders would dip and that their stocks would plummet and a number of them would go out of business. Like fucking Peacock and shit. Probably just disappear off the face of the earth and shit. Save us from Halo, for fuck's sake.
No, please.
Not Peacock, Paramount.
No, Peacock
yeah.
was listed on one of those things. Is Paramount or Halo on Paramount or Peacock?
Paramount.
Which one's
Paramount.
Peacock? Which one's
Peacock
there was something
has
on
like
Peacock.
TV
NBC
shows,
and
right?
shit.
No, but there was something on Peacock that I remember where it's just like, I'm not getting Peacock to watch that. Whatever. They all just need to fucking burn anyways. We're gonna have to get to a point where we have like some type of direct TV type shit again.
Twisted Metal.
There it is.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, and I saw a couple reviews for that. People being like, it's not bad. Like, shut
it
the
just came
fuck
out
up.
too, didn't
Shut
it?
the fuck up.
Oh, I
Just
gotta
came
watch
out,
this.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, like, man, you know what?
I'll let
F
you know what
movies,
it's
bro. F movies, bro. I hate them and shit. F movies, bro. Next one here, Insomniac claims to be working on a third AAA game, and that is alongside Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. What do you think it is, boys? I already know what it is because my brain is
Spider-Man 3.
yeah, they're already working on it.
I mean, I think you were talking about it earlier. It could be like a Venom game.
Yeah. So, like, if you go through all this trouble of creating systems for this character that is going to make a cameo in your upcoming AAA game, and you've already had the entire environment mapped out and good to go, why wouldn't you just make a standalone Venom game using the same map with the new character that you created with his own standalone story and have him interwoven into, much like how Miles Morales was on Spider-Man 1? It was kind of just the same. It was like a different angle of the same game. It's like you're fighting a different character in the same fight that you were as Peter Parker. It's just you see him in the background fighting and blah blah blah. Just do that where your appearances in Spider-Man 2 are kind of that, and then the rest of the game is just you being Venom and shit. It would be so easy, bro. Like, yeah, of course there might need to be some catching up with graphic enhancements in a year or two, whatever. Maybe they want to add or reduce the map size or what have you. But really, if you're looking at like the nitty gritty of it, a lot of that work is done, and they could easily polish off a Venom game and just, it's a AAA. I mean, it would be too, as long as the writing's there and they got the cinematics. It's really all they'd have to focus on, you know what I mean?
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, another Ratchet and Clank game. That shit made me fucking puke, bro. I downloaded that shit when I got the PS5. I was like, damn, that was fucking too many lights and fucking. Like all the like the warps and shit. It's like, it's just too much. It's just like I know that that's what it's for. It was made to really show off like the visual fidelity of PS5, but it's kind of a clusterfuck. There's like too much going on and shit. So, please no, please no more Ratchet and Clank.
More warps.
Yeah, I think it's Venom. I think it's Venom on it, honestly. And that would be just like the lazy thing for me. I'm only taking that because it would be the easiest and the
low hanging
laziest.
fruit.
Yeah, absolute low hanging fruit. And it would pass. Like you couldn't argue that that would be a AAA game, especially if it plays like Spider-Man 2. You know what I mean? So that's what my vibe is at with that one. Trailer for Invincible Season 2 drops at San Diego Comic-Con, which we're not talking about because nothing really happened and shit. It was just people sitting at tables and shit, like the good old days. No flashy shit. It was just nerds being nerds. Gotta love it. But Invincible Season 2, also Omni-Man being added to Mortal Kombat 1, being voiced by J.K. Simmons. Have you guys seen Invincible?
I haven't. I need to.
Yeah, that's fucking whoa. Holy shit. By the end of that shit, you're just like, oh my fuck, holy fuck. That is, I mean, it's like, you know, you look at it and be like, it's a fucking cartoon. It's like looking at The Boys and being like, it's just some superhero shit. It's like that same exact, like, mindset, you know what I mean? You watch Invincible, you get past, like, you know, the third episode where they set up all the characters and then, like, the twists start happening and you're like, oh, this is fucked. This is a fucked up show. Like, holy shit. I thoroughly recommend it. I actually rewatched it again recently, and it was pretty cool.
Mortal Kombat added some like cool characters and some
yeah,
funny
they got
ones.
Homelander's in there. I think Predator was in there. Arnie, they have the T-1000 or whatever. I think.
I know he's been in it, but they also have.
I saw the picture of all of them.
What's his face? God damn it! Now I can like look at him. John Cena's character.
Oh,
Peacemaker.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Some cool characters. I think we're all pretty, you know. I mean, I'm not gonna like get stoked and like buy Mortal Kombat and shit, but you know, is what they got going on. It's pretty interesting. I dig it. I thoroughly recommend you guys watch Invincible. I mean, if you guys get queasy with like animations like that are too gory and shit, then maybe not. But that shit gets fucking nasty. Shit gets fucking nasty. Check it out. It's on Amazon. It's probably the best thing they have over there on Amazon, to be honest. Just a couple more here.
Over the Boys?
What?
Over the Boys?
Damn.
Oh, okay. So it's up there.
If you think that like you're gonna be watching some fucking superhero cartoon, it's just gonna be like some like, yeah, this is a whatever shit, like you're sorely mistaken. It's one of those where it's like, oh, but The Boys, I think the acting in The Boys holds it together. You know what I mean? Like, in due respects, you know, it's still a cartoon. So I mean, we've had that discussion in the past where it's like, you know,
I gotta knock this out before November 3rd.
Yeah, I think you got enough time. It's like 8 episodes.
All right, yeah.
It's like 6 episodes. It's like, you'll be fine. And not to mention, J.K. Simmons is like a fucking like legend, bro. Like I just love J.K. Simmons' voice and like him in anything. Fucking even the yellow Eminem, my man.
I met that dude.
Did I? No, I haven't met J.K. Simmons. When?
I saw him at a. They were filming a movie, and he was reading his script, like sitting on the sidewalk.
Chilling.
And we walked right by.
I was like, you are J.K. Simmons.
And I was like, that's J.K. Simmons.
I was like, you are a legend, sir.
I was like, hey.
Yeah, you are a legend. Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man. That movie would not be the same. We're basically on first day basis and shit. I just call him Jay. You know what I mean?
It's like when Justin Timberlake walked past me in front of the Frolic Room.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, fucking JT and shit. We lost our
like best
and
friends,
shit. Yeah, fucking. We share the same sidewalk and shit.
Yeah, it was great. Security pushed me to the wall, but it was great.
Yeah, like my fucking Comic-Con treatment and shit. Leaked footage of the Sony Project Q. Did you guys see this?
They should just put it in a trash can.
This is fucking.
It's a fucking Android tablet with a broken controller.
Bad. Like that controller is way more fucked than I thought it was. I was like, yeah, it's got some Joy-Cons on it.
PS5. It's a PS5 controller split in half and put a fucking.
But there's like, okay, so like
Android.
if it was like a Joy-Con, like they snap on to the sides of it, then it's like okay, maybe. This is not that. This is literally like a housing for the entire tablet. So like it's got that crossbar across the top where like the tablet has to kind of like snap into and shit. So when you have it away from the controllers, it is still the same size. it is still the same like footprint. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you can disassemble it, but it looked as in one piece. You know what I mean? Like, so it's even worse. It's even worse than just a fucked up controller because it's literally worse. Yeah. They took away everything that made it unique and then just stretched it out and made it incredibly uncomfortable and like inconvenient. Imagine that thing in your backpack, just like it's not broken. Connected to your system. You know what I mean? You're fucked. I mean, you wouldn't have it in a backpack because it doesn't do anything.
I was gonna say, yeah,
you need to be at your house. So the biggest waste of fucking time and money and just effort is just Sony doing Sony shit. You know what I mean? Just bring
back the PSP.
Yeah, bring it back a PSP. Yeah. What is it? 8,000 or whatever the fucking last number was. Double it and shit. 2,000, I think it was, 4,000. Or bring back a Vita. Do a Vita 2, where it's just nothing but digital. It's got fucking terabyte, like, you know, or you know, bring back your memory sticks. You know you want it, you bitches.
Fuck those memory sticks. It could be, you know, it could have been the rival to a Steam Deck.
No, it could have been. They're not willing to dump that money, and they know that they're so confined in what they offer that,
like, even if you let me download games at home that I can take with me and play console-sized games.
I mean, with
screen
with Dolphin, like, it's called Dolphin, right? And then there's the other one, Ibizu or whatever. These emulators, like, it's going to be hard unless they're running just straight Windows. It's going to be hard because the Steam Deck can function like a computer. You know what I mean? It can boot what a computer can boot.
Right.
PlayStation cannot, you know. An Xbox can, however, it has the Xbox operating system laid over it. So that's why, like, the military used to use, like, Xbox consoles and shit as servers and all that or whatever. I think they did that for PlayStations at one point, but they were, like, specially modified. But, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know, whatever. I don't want to fucking talk about it. This shit sucks. Fuck Sony. They're making crap. They need to bring back PS Vita 2. Or do PS Vita 2. That's what all people are asking for. That's all they want. They just want a handheld.
Just do what people want.
Screen, yeah, they don't care if the screen is gigantic. Give them something a little bit bigger than the PS Vita and focus on backwards compatibility. So where people can fire up PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and maybe even fucking PS4 games and play them on the go. Like, it's not that fucking hard, bro. Like, what is this? Like, what is this that they've created? Like, it is trash. So I'm ashamed, but it is what it is. I thoroughly recommend people do not buy this shit. I can't even fathom why you would need it, to be honest. Like, what scenario do you think that they kicked around in the brainstorm room to justify this thing existing?
What do you need to do when you're on the shitter?
I mean, you could
continue my game.
Just leave the door open and lean your head, bro. Like,
no, dude, just let me put my game on pause. Let me go scroll through some Instagram while I'm taking a shit, and then I'll come back. I don't need this.
But then the argument comes, it's like, okay, well, this already exists because you have the PS whatever the fuck Relay or whatever the PlayStation app is, to where you can literally do this already. So really the only draw to this is the tablet itself and then the controller peripheral. And based on what I've seen, what the fuck. So, you know, I don't want to dwell on it too much. I'm just thoroughly recommending nobody buy that shit because it looks horrid. Last one on here, Lord and Savior Ryan Reynolds reviving Alf and Biker Mice from Mars.
Leave it alone.
On Fubu.tv with his new entertainment company, Maximum Effort.
Leave it alone. Don't kill my Alf.
I mean, Alf, whatever. The world kind of needs Alf back and shit.
No, we need old Alf. Just leave old Alf alone. Don't fucking do this Ryan Reynolds
Alf
shit.
Pugs. You remember Alf? Biker Mice from Mars, though, goes hard as fuck. That's all I know and shit. I don't give a fuck about Alf. I didn't watch Alf. It was awkward. I never really liked it. But Biker Mice from Mars. And it's owned by a company called Nacelle. And if you go to Nacelle, they sell like $40 action figures. They're like huge. And they're still of Biker Mice from Mars. So, I mean, this is their thing. I guess they're specifically working with this company. I don't know what other stuff. There's a couple other things that they own, but My other suggestion was Street Sharks. You guys remember that shit?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Street Sharks and Gargoyles. Isn't
Damn.
isn't someone making Gargoyles?
Well, my thing, I didn't write
They're
Gargoyles
remaking
on
it.
here to remember, but Gargoyles is Disney, so it would
Yeah.
require Disney to do that. However, I do think that absolutely should be something they should bring back.
Gargoyles was Channel 9. That's right.
Yeah, Gargoyles, flat out Disney. You go to Disneyland, they're around. You'll see them, like, not like the gargoyles themselves, but you'll see like imagery of the characters from time to time, like on shirts and shit. But I love that cartoon growing up. That was like right up my alley. I love Biker Mike from Mars, Biker Mice from Mars, Street Sharks. There were a couple others too. You know, those being revived, so I can like watch them with my kids and shit. Like, I'm down, whatever. Fubo.tv though, what the fuck? Bro, what? Like, what is that? Like, have you guys heard of it?
No. Maybe. I don't know.
I've never heard of Fubo.
I thought it was just like a scam kind of thing. Like,
Is it like that that one free TV?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I have it in the living room.
You get it.
Freevee?
Yeah, you get it.
Freevee?
You get it on your.
Freevee. That's the one I have.
Oh, he bought Fubo.
Did Ryan Reynolds
Wait.
buy Fubo?
Is that his?
I mean, if it's like Mint Mobile, he's just gonna flip it for like, I don't know, 100-fold.
bazillion dollars.
Because he
It's
just shits gold because he's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it's $75 a month.
What?
Jesus Christ! It's like it's like YouTube TV basically.
YouTube TV is not worth it. I mean, if you're into like sports, maybe, but
It gives you a lot of sports, but it's just basically YouTube TV for $75 a month for 167 channels.
we had
Probably
YouTube
his
TV for like a month
subscription
and it
to
was
his
whatever.
soccer team.
Yeah.
What did we
It's-
use?
it's-
I truly hate the whole interface of YouTube TV. It functions different than YouTube for one thing.
It does. Yeah.
It's like, why? Like, what are you? Why, bro? Like, what the fuck?
And
like,
for
I
that
already
price,
watched it.
give me YouTube Premium.
Yes, and throw that in there. Why are you making me watch ads, you bitches? Yeah, whatever. Greed. So I mean, I'm down. I'm down for Biker Mice from Mars. I would say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but those have just been reused and rewashed and fucking just over and over and over again.
Are you guys gonna
my
watch the
elf.
new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle
Fuck
movie?
no. But that like
No.
they really fucking, who was it? Donatello, right? They did him dirty and shit. Put like nerd glasses on him. Who was it?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got like buck teeth.
Damn, leave my boy
Yeah.
alone, bro. Like, he's already been perceived as the nerd and shit. Why you gotta do that to him? I don't know. I think that's so far away from like what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles truly is that it's like, I don't know. You can go read an original mutant, TMNT comic book, and it certainly was not intended for kids. It was like
I loved it, though.
It was like taking George Carlin and making him the fucking conductor and shit. And I was
Oh
like,
my
what? Like, do what now with you, bro? Or Bob Saget and putting him on a fucking like, a sitcom
Kids,
about kid family and
family.
shit. Like, Bob Saget? Oh my god! It's like that. And shit, so whatever. Ryan Reynolds, though, I trust him. The man
No.
touches anything and it turns to gold. Alf, I couldn't give two flying fucks about, but if they want to make some Biker Mice from Mars, I'm down, bro.
He's gonna fuck over Elf.
I mean, it's not going to get any viewers because
It's
nobody's
gonna
going
be
to pay
dead.
$75
Yeah,
for
nobody's
fucking
nobody's
Fubo.
subscribing to Fubo.
Fubo, bro. What the fuck? Nope. No.
Yeah,
So
anyway.
we will see. Street Sharks. Right around Street Sharks. Go to Street Sharks. So that is it for the stories from this week. Got some free games. Check these out. Actually, this first one. A little pricey, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's like a $39.99 or $35 game. Homeworld Remastered Collection. Free on Epic Game Store until August 3rd. It's a space battle RTS. And, I mean, if you're into that type of shit, like EVE Online, blah, 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 that type of shit, you might be into it. But like I said, that's a big price cut. So take advantage of that one. The other one is Severed Steel. Looks like an indie action FPS with wall running and like fast movement and stuff like that. Kind of gave like Mirror's Edge meets any other generic FPS type of vibe. Also free until August 3rd over on Epic Game Store. And that is it for the show. Who the fuck
Nice.
just changed that title on that show? I saw that, bitch.
I just
Motherfucker.
I didn't even know my finger was on the button.
Free gummies.
It's French.
So that is it for this week's show. You guys can find us at Nerd Chatter Show on Threads, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You can find the Nerd Chatter Podcast anywhere you can find podcasts, including Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, and basically anywhere else you can find podcasts. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, do whatever the fuck it does over there. It'd be much appreciated. All of our episodes are uploaded to our YouTube channel, where we also do weekly live streams over on kick.com at Nerd Chatter. Go ahead and check us out. Link in the description. Gonna do about an hour or two tonight. Been playing Dave the Diver, which should be fun. And then I'm gonna go and hop on over to my personal account. Lucas is gonna be belligerently drunk, so I don't think he's gonna be streaming tonight.
Possibility, I don't know yet.
If he does stream,
drunk pool.
getting his ass whipped. If he is streaming, if he's coherent and actually functional as a human being, he will be streaming at Marauders with a Z over on Kick, and then myself, McFly. And Kenny does not stream.
Nope.
If he did, it would be just like the most generic name ever created for a streamer
AOL.
and shit. Yeah.
You would
AOL
hear the door
username and
open.
shit. So again, check us out over there. Give us some follows, all that good shit. Hit us with the subs, hit us with the likes.
Yeah,
help us
hit me with the
grow.
follow for
All
follow.
that good shit. You come into my fucking chat with that follow for follow shit, you're getting banned, bro. Like, I don't even give a fuck, bro. You insta
You're gonna
ban.
make
And then I'm gonna
5
talk shit
different
about you for like
accounts.
10 minutes after I ban you. Like, I'm just gonna sit there railing on you. I don't want your fucking follows. Like, I don't want your fucking follows. Fool. That's not how it works. It didn't work 10 years ago on Twitter or
I know,
Twitch.
Twitch.
Doesn't work now, pathetic bitches. Anyways, I digress. That is it for this week's show. You boys, appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Can you
Always.
get here on time next time?
Yeah, get the fuck
Yeah,
here
my
on
bad.
time, fools. Enough of your fucking goddamn
Humanitarian.
humanitarian indecent exposure.
Planting-
This fool whipped his
planting
dick
trees
out
out there and
in a
shit.
fucking public park. Whipped his dick out, and now has to fucking do community service and shit.
That was Upland Hills.
Supposedly.
It was the park outside of Amazon and shit. It was like just waving his dick around. And shit. Kept his job. Insane. Kept his job. All right, we're out. You guys take it easy.
Wild.
Later.
Later.
All right.
Man, fuck you guys.